Good morning from New York. I would like to thank Big Linux again for the ability to make these rather poor videos, I suppose. And nothing against Big Linux, me, and all of the Linux creators out there, like Switch to Linux and Distro to many others. You've given me many hours of pleasure and help. You know, your Linux philosophy is a very important one and very much in line with IMC. Um, yeah, let's move on to the subject today. Introvert, extrovert, NDEs, and IMC, the inner felt experience. So, again, I think I'll start from the end of the list. Um, the inner mind experience is the inner mind communication that I talk about here. It involves forms of empathy and forms of sensation awareness and feeling awareness. All of it is focused on feeling. It's how to become a more feeling individual. It can help people who are introverts or extroverts to balance out a bit because get the inner and the outer uh, connected. That means following the practice and the philosophy. NDEs. NDEs are an inner mind communication. It's all that's there is, you've got your brain, and as I said before, it's a difficult situation, and you have expanded up above or over your feelings and so on, which is what they called it positive sociopathy. But and it's also the role of your inner artist, which can create experiences. So, if you're in great distress, you want to get away from your feelings in a way, but still in touch with your feelings. That's communication between self and others, which is the compassionate empathy for others and yourself. And then it also involves a sense of self-awareness. Um, you're still thinking. That's the objective. Empathy. And IMC includes all of that, and a sense of ego transcendence, which comes from connecting to the infinite mind. So there's this ego transcendent love flow. In NDEs, out of body kind of experiences sometimes, which can be triggered by the same things that will trigger an NDE. And the military has studied this, okay? Not necessarily anything mysterious or supernatural, but during these times, sometimes psychic things occur. You know, that you can't figure out how you knew, things like that. And that's a very interesting aspect, which scientists are also studying, trying to figure out what that is. Now, the actual practice of inner mind communication, you need to understand it is a feeling practice, and your feelings being helped by various perspectives. Feelings including your sensations in your body, who and what you are, and beyond. So let's start with the empathetic practices. There's empathy with yourself, which is the inner child communicating to yourself as your own counselor. And in that way, the feeling relationship it's about your feelings. That's a little easier the deeper going into those feelings, but which you still will sometimes go into doing this, but you're actually talking about your feelings, and so it's from the present going forward. Your inner counselor, and when you're talking to significant others, that's helping you with your compassionate empathy. It's more connected directly to your feelings as you're talking about important persons in your life, negative or positive. You're talking to them, and in that experience, you're experiencing the love that the flow of the love yourself. In any experience, you're inside your mind, which is similar to NDE. You're the only person there. It's all in your imagination, and your brain is supplying that imagination, and that can be amazing. So, talking to significant others goes more directly toward feeling your feelings about them, and having a feeling based on that, but actually reliving your feelings that you had in the past and in the present, of course. So when you're talking to significant others, that can trigger that, and that's how that aspect works. And both it's kind of a communication between yourself and your inner yourself as you imagine yourself to be, of course. The kid in you, the emotional, more emotional, dramatic self is, at the core of this experience. And that is the part I call the kid that communicates to your counselor, but also communicates to significant others. And in so doing, these are parts of the love flow. It's all about needs and feelings. It's an inner experience in which these are very important aspects. And so when you're talking to significant others, you're kind of switching between a position of giving love or receiving it. And so when you're talking to that significant other, you're taking on these different roles. And so that it helps with the love flow, obviously. And so I call it the kid talking to the inner caregiver. But you're you're playing all these roles, including the role that you call yourself, which I'll get to in a moment. The creative empathy, that experience is where you're talking to part of you that can create memories for you and experiences for you, which of course is the brain. And the brain, in that brain, all of these imaginings are occurring, and your brain is creating these imagined perspectives. So it's an inner reflection, all of it, between your dramatic self that experiences things more directly and these other perspectives. And with ultimately, you're communicating with the brain, and the brain is an amazing thing. I mean, it's I call it the artist within you, and it's also the higher self in a sense, because in that practice you get to experience and understand that there's a part of you that's outside of your dramatic experience that actually is the reason for it. Wrap your head around that. It's your brain. The brain studies show that your brain has made the decision before you're aware of having made it. The supreme control in mythology, you have God and the God man. That is your higher self. That is your brain. That's your artist. Is it more than that? That's up to your particular belief system. Fine. But so you can be atheist or anything and do inner mind communication and benefit from it. So it doesn't matter what your belief system is. Well, it does to you, yeah, it does, but you can have any belief system that do this. But it'll have a different flavor to it, perhaps. But you're talking to the part of you that creates experiences for you. It's like producing your own inner guided meditation, which a lot of people are aware of what that is. It's a suggestion of a scene in which things take place, and the people who study the brain, that's in this area, and that area, these areas cooperating. We'll hear that analysis. But anyway, you're talking to your higher self, which is kind of mysterious in a way. It's your dramatic self talking to supreme controller, your brain, which produces all of these perspectives. So the mythology of inner mind communication is that this artist reaches into your future one arm and pass with the other, and helps you with anxieties relating more from the present to the future, one hand, and on the other hand, helps you with anxieties from the present to the past, helping you actually breathe in feelings. So, and as these anxieties decrease, It's as if your inner artist has embraced you in a hug. But it's outside of your experience. So, in a sense, it's kind of positive sociopathy, and it's kind of like the NDE. You're outside of your body, outside of your feelings. And you're seeing your whole timeline. That's interesting that NDE is they're seeing their whole timeline as they imagine it to be. It's more than that, I don't know. But it's up above your timeline, so it lives in a place of timelessness. Again, the people with the NDEs say, oh, time is all occurring at the same time. There is no time here. No. You're up above your position to reflect on your life, your timeline. And so there's the life review, all courtesy of your inner artist. That would naturally tend to occur. So, okay, heaven. When they feel they go to heaven, yeah, and then NDE, inner mind experience can give you that sense that you are up above your life and in a place where there is no time, and in a place where you're happy. You're able to enjoy whatever's going on in your timeline, like someone reading a story or watching a movie. So no matter what's going on, you're enjoying it, enjoying the movie. And so, a little sociopathic in a way, very distant from feelings, and yet of importance. You can create new memories. You can see how these approaches relate to PTSD and ACEs and many other things. Those are three of the practices of inner mind communication. There are three more that take place where you're trying to get in touch with yourself before you had a self-concept, before there was language, before society told you who you are, or that you came to imagine who you are. And so that's a different space. And there are traumas that occurred at that time. And the encouragement is to do the whole practice very lightly and focusing on the about feelings to begin with, and then advancing more toward feeling your feelings deeply. Caregiver, emotional, dramatic stuff. That's what I mean by the kid. So it's not literally kid. So you as a kid, you yourself experiencing emotional drama or activity. The other three deal with the infant mind. Mind we've had before. We've had a self-concept. You hear in religious approaches of transcending the ego, one with everything. And one Zen book that I read is, those are the same thing. You are, in fact, one. In another religion, relationship between yourself and that which is the absolute truth. the part of you that is the supreme controller, blah, blah, blah. That's your brain. So you're one with that. That means, again, you're one with everything. So, when you understand all that, these other the religions and many other things become clear to you what they're really talking about. The experiences are about. And we've got there are three more approaches in education that help you get in touch with yourself before you had a self-concept. So these three approaches are focus, play, and expression. And focus is what in society developed into objectivity. Is important in objective empathy. And play is what developed into the ability to create play, which is your higher self, the brain, and there's a connection to creative empathy, where it evolved from that capacity to be at play, to go along with, and to be random. And the talk about focus, talk about play, expression. What did that evolve into? Well, it evolved into compassion. It's a leap. Let me explain that. Really not a leap. The ability to express your feelings, your needs, and so on, which all these things are important to your survival. That expression helps you to survive, obviously, but the ability to express those things in a safe way, in a safe environment, well, that's compassion. Compassion gives you the feeling of safety to express your feelings and so on. So, in a way, that ability to express needs, feelings, and so on in social contexts evolved into compassion. So, there's a story where father told me, and it was about the death of a dear loved lady who was a friend of his, close friend. And in the course of his mourning, people would come up to him and say, "Oh, she's in heaven," blah, 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 which is kind of the creative empathy approach. Repicturing things. Having another view. And he said that really didn't do anything. But one lady came up and she touched my shoulder and she said, "I'm sorry." Compassionate empathy. That's what really helped him feel and to feel better. So all of these things are attempts done in attempt to comfort yourself. You're not looking like in psychology or, that kind of approach. You're not looking to find trauma. Believe me, I don't find you. But it's about a skill of comforting yourself. And can it be augmented by professional help from outside you? Sure. Someone who has experienced it before and can teach and guide you in it. Yeah, that That's a thing. That can be helpful, and that's where I hope to see these approaches have a help toward a more affordable for therapies, because you can help yourself, and that goes a long way with someone else trying to help you. So, they're compatible. They're not the same. So in other words, it's like exercise class or yoga class or something, but it's about your mind. All right? That's very mysterious. Gathering probably so far. Now, how do you get in touch with this infant mind and the feelings and sensations that are without words? And they do exist. That's the infant mind. And traumas they're in the time when you didn't have even a sense of self. Those are harder to work through. They are more impacting in general, but you can have traumas that are so terrible later in your life. Just like a birth trauma. Which, there is evidence for that, despite the absence of the myelination, etc. Yeah, it does exist. So the body has memory, and they're finding it. So a lot of these things, so you'll need to go to cutting edge tutorials on YouTube regarding the brain and your general neurology, and that can help understanding these things. Right, the infant mind. How do you practice the focus part? Well, it's kind of like mindfulness, but it's directed at all the things that IMC are. Survival and your feelings. Which your feelings are connected to your needs. And so when you focus, you're paying attention to sensations and feelings within your body. And that's your focus. And that obviously takes you out of the self-concept. Another way is where that's just okay. Let's finish that up. That's kind of like a mindfulness of what's going on inside you at that time, and without words. And play is where you try to get past the language so that you can better enter into the infant mind. That practice, it's a lot like mantra yoga. You can repeat a phrase over and over again until it begins to be meaningless, and it helps you drop down into that state. However, in IMC, intermind communication practice, you're at play also. You're creating. You're being playful. And that's where you have a more playful approach to mantras. You don't just repeat a mantra over and over. Quite boring. But you can just make up sounds that have no meaning at all to begin with, And that's really what's going on in some of this Pentecostal kind of experiences. And, oh, that's crazy. No, that's its value. If you make up sounds and speak them, that helps you drop into the infant mind and into the feelings and sensations as well that are at the core of that infant mind. So you can also sing the sounds that you create, which can help you. And you're doing this to comfort yourself. And that can mean expressions that are borderline negative or positive. And whatever is comfortable for you, finding your comfort zone. And so you might, how does that sound? You and I have a something oh, sing it. Hey, you and I have been among the sun. So music is can be very helpful. It's an approach you can use listening to music that is close to this kind of practice. Um, there's the play approach. Now the expression approach is more like pranayama, the use of breath. Nothing closer to your feelings than breath, your breath. So you can see how play lines up with communication with your creative artist and focus lines up with your ability to be objective with your counsel, ability, and expression takes you more directly into your feelings, so that's more along the lines of what both benevolence lie in your social experiences, compassion, and feeling, closer to the feelings. And that's the use of your breath. So you breathe in deeply, but you do add sound. It's like not purposely, but ooh and types of sound that have no meaning, but you can breathe in and out, making ooh sound, and that can really get you in touch with your inner mind, infant mind, sensations and feelings, and so on. Very interesting thing. And you're doing it, it's all a feeling approach, so it's about your feelings. Ooh, that's a positive way. Ooh. It makes some people laugh. Well, that's your feelings. And so you can also, depending on how you're feeling, you might want to get more directly in expressing negative feelings. Ooh. Now, some people can only do that on the out breath. Some people can do it on the in breath. It's effective either way, but it's more effective if you can. Get you more involved in the process, which takes you there. As you practice these three things, you find that the same sensations and feelings are starting to be triggered by all of these approaches. And if you do the more slowly, that can bring you more into language. That might that's a different kind of effect, because all of these things will help you to relive and unlearn helplessness around having your feelings and expressing them. And so if you're doing it slowly, it borders on more of a language thing. And so actual crying out, when you cry out, which is basically how what you're doing, you're crying out your feelings. But there are no tears usually when you're in infant mode. But if you're doing it slowly, you might come up with something very impacting with feeling, like crying out for your mom. You know, and if you're doing it more rapidly, then you know, it can take you more into your body wanting to react. Okay. And that can be connected to things that happen around birth. So you go in and you're doing that, and with me, it's the body starts to want to rise, and it's push, which I think is having a birth experience of sorts. Try that. NDEs don't really go there too much. You wonder what happened to the infant mind in that NDE. Well, there wasn't there. So it has its limitations, but it is an inner mind education. It's something that can happen and be triggered under threat, obviously, and they've studied that's okay. Support for it. And it can happen when you actually are in terrible threat. Help you cope. Help keep the anxiety down. So these things help you to get more in touch with your feelings. The reason that the healing aspect of all of the inner mind communication approach, it helps you, if you're an extrovert, to be more introverted, and it also helps the introvert in you, if you follow the philosophy of this to your life, you can become more extroverted. Because and that's basically a lot of with the NDEs, people who have these come back and they're writing books and they're having to talk about this. So yeah, that can help you become a little more extroverted. Now let's see. You have to understand that how some things about trauma. Trauma's has a force to it, and it comes against your brain with intense messages of anxiety and desperation. So it's helpless, a feeling of helplessness. That's the impact. And that impact is spread out, just as like if you were to hit a ball, and that force gets spread over and forward within the ball that you hit. And so that means that you, in the mind, you're symbolizing the need that was present at the time so that you can ease the anxiety by chasing after something that seems more attainable. But it's a generalized thing. It's symbolized and generalized. So that's part of the expansion of the impact, is the distant symbolization of the experience and the feelings involved. And so that impact attracted very auditory person. So brain stops. My brain starts to stop. I get annoyed by sound when I'm trying to focus on a subject. Yeah. Yeah, one day maybe I'll overcome that. Let's see. That out though. But anyway, so that the symbolization and the generalization. If you're frightened horribly by a cat, then anything reminds you of a cat might trigger that anxiety. It's symbolized and generalized. If you're trying to fill up with a symbolic version of need, like money, fame, and it's sort of that kind of addiction is very addictive. It's something you have to repeat over and over, and it gives you the illusion of hey, come in the brain, I'm taking care of it, taking care of this anxiety. I'm getting that need. That need is in the past. Okay? It's the trauma is what has happened to you. And it can be an ongoing kind of trauma, which counseling will help with that. Get out of the situation. So, good advice, right? All right, so trauma is related to this symbolization and generalization, and it's related to the past. It's when you have a lot of symbolic need and things, and you are stuck in the past. So when you finally realize, you unlearn the helplessness that the reason you're stuck in the past, you can actually feel and process that trauma. When you've done that, you unlearn the helplessness and you become aware of and express in a kind of reliving of sorts what the full experience of that original need and what it was, because you never really were completely aware of it. Sense. So once you are aware of it and you have felt it, you know that need is in the past. So how does your next step toward inner healing go? Well, you need to grieve that thing that you lost and all of the things you lost because of it. You have to grieve that and let it go. Why? So that you can forgive more easily people who harmed you. You become more forgiving. Just like people go through NDEs. You become more forgiving. And actually, the forgiving is not the end. You have the grieving process, then you have the forgiving process, then you have the repentance part, where the hurt in you and the symbolic struggles that you engaged in, caused you to do harm to others. That is a kind of last stage thing to feel, because it says, I'm a monster. I'm, in a way, I've hurt other people. I should be pushed out of the tribe. So that's a hard thing to cope with, and not the first thing that the person needs in the healing process. It will occur. You will have tears of remorse. Now, the end story is that, and it's never fully, you go through this process, different needs and feelings and so on, again and again. But at the end, you have this sense, after the remorse, that and this realization, I'm no longer the person who did that. I'm a different person. And people call that, salvation or being born again and things like that. Since you have actually changed. So talking about these things is not going deep enough, So you've got, this is where you can help in prisons and things, But the punishing attitude does not cure people, because it demands change without the process that makes the change possible on a deep level. That you can go through the whole thing lightly. I will forgive everyone. Yeah, kinda, until some of those old needs are triggered. Not forgiving so much. Not to be repenting so much. It's that anxiety rules. I'm telling you, the reason that it gets symbolized and generalized is to avoid the anxiety that can be dangerous and to your health and to your longevity. And so helplessness in experiments with animals and so on, it's not something they can handle. And if you start at the end of the process, you're forcing people to feel even more helpless, even more dependent. So talkie kind of therapies can tend that way, if that's all you do. Helpful, but it can also be harmful, because you're increasing the helplessness and then your dependence, especially on another person, to handle your feelings. So healing process involves empowering the individual to be able to heal themselves and not need that constantly somebody time to time. But like this constant dependence on a leader or an expert, that's not healthy. You need to be empowered, not dependent. Too much of this dependency goes on, and that's how the dictators and things come into power. They trigger people's anger and their fear, and follow me, I'll fix it. No, becoming more dependent and giving your rights away to, and your own responsibility away to a leader is counterproductive. So a leader needs to help you be empowered yourself. And this even goes into management in a business. You want to be training your replacements. You want to be empowering people. Those are the great leaders in management and business. And they've studied that. Oh, it's true. I've gone over a few times, so this picture shows up in terms of social institutions. And, how is the Linux philosophy connected here? Yeah, well, in Linux, the code is in the open. Anybody can go to the code and they can create their own Linux distro. If they learn enough. There's nothing held behind the curtains. It's all out there so that people can, anybody can come in and improve it and so on. And that's how intermind communication should be approached. With that kind of freedom, I'm not holding anything back and that's, oh, you can't understand this. Yes, you can. If you can't, well, you might need a psychiatrist. But the aim, again, would be to get you as independent as possible. And I'm not putting down, what's their hearts, anybody who's deeply damaged. They are an opportunity for other people to work on their own love flow. So people who need, and people who are damaged, and people who are criminal are actually valuable to society. Because it challenges everyone to help create the love flow that will help heal. And what's the philosophy of Jesus on this one? He said, well, the healthy don't have a need of a physician, it's the sick. He saw himself as a physician and someone helping them to be like him. Yeah, and that's what everyone should be doing. And that's how things need to be approached. No punishing attitudes. The freedom that you see there. Well, the freedom in Linux, it involves some education, of course, or you can't exercise that freedom to go into the code. So the understanding in a social sense of intermind communication and philosophy is that all of these types of expression, the media, which represents more the creativity of humanity, seeing things from many perspectives, empowering that, understanding how that works, understanding government, which is about more objective, trying to meet human needs and determining laws and whatever that will help do that. And when you're looking at the extended family organizations, your temples, your churches, your mosques, and whatever, any extended family organization, your local pub, maybe it's that for you. In Europe, I suppose, because you can bring kids. That's what I've heard. They don't, it's not a place to go and get drunk. It's barbershops, he created kind of extended families, and the kids and all can come there, and there's great conversations at the barbershop, used to be. I'm sure it still is, can become an extended family. But these kind of institutions are the institution I lump together and call church. Yeah, like somebody's not behaving correctly, you want to take them to church. You understand compassion and compassion for others. So understanding these things is important. And what is the more dramatic experience area of institutions? And well, it's trade, business. I just lump it, I call it all business, and it's all trading partners in the institution called business. And the smallest of businesses might be just the individual worker. Next step, the family, working for the family. That's a kind of business. So the business of life is all about business. So you can't cut that out. You can't cut out, free trade, which depends on fair trade, by the way. You can't cut that out and have a healthy society. We've seen that exemplified around the world when they try to cut that out. The government. People run in terror from these places. But that's where again the freedom principle, understanding how things work, and having no hidden aspects to it, so that people can look and understand these institutions and so on, and tinker with it, try to improve the communications there. All of these church, and state, and media communicate in business. They all need the freedom, the thing with Linux, freedom, in order to express their view and to help with the distro society that they're creating. They need to be able to communicate freely, and not hide things from one another to every extent possible. And eventually should lead to all the countries working together and in love, and I hope so. So the fight for democracy, Linux philosophy, IMC philosophy, so all about that freedom. I call it wise freedom. So that's my perspective. I would love to hear Switch to Linux guy, the distro 2 guy, talk about some of these subjects. And that would be fascinating. But big promotion here for Linux. Yes, I love it. I like KDE especially. It's a dummy. I mean, it allows me to mess with code in a sense, at a training wheel level, and I enjoy that. Distro hopper, yeah, quite a bit. I have my main hard drive is Big Linux, because it just works so well for me. Then I have on another hard drive I have Debian. Another hard drive for people here who like Windows. Well, it has its uses at times. It's on another hard drive. I try not to mess with that, and I don't use it. I don't use it. I'm not as good at following the Linux philosophy as I've gotten benefit out of selling my soul to Google. Google YouTube is produced by Google, so and it also helped me find my phone recently. So, yeah, that's all kind of okay. So, but we do need to be concerned with privacy. that the freedom to not be completely open about yourself is a needed thing, because people aren't perfect and they will take your information and use it badly or manipulate it. So that's another aspect. IMC philosophy, yeah, it respects privacy. There's, because you can do the IMC practices alone. There's some things that you might never, want to tell the world. So there's a connection there again with IMC. You might notice that, we have suffering that goes on all the time. As you get older, folks, it can be a lot of annoying things, like dry skin. Mm-hmm. Been noticing that? Yeah. Working on it. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, I think I've covered these topics fairly well. I mean, go back for a moment to extroverts and introverts, and maybe that needs a video of its own, and maybe somebody else is doing a better one. And I won't have to. Anyway, take care, and as I like to say at the end of my videos, namaste, which means that love flow and that creativity and whole package that lives in me, all of its mystery. I'd like to honor that in you. Namaste. And good day, y'all.